All right, so it's that time of year again, isn't it? Early January, and everyone's talking about resolutions, reinvention, big massive changes. But what if real growth isn't about some huge overhaul at all? What if it's actually something quieter, steadier, and a whole lot more sustainable? Today, we're going to explore a totally different approach, finding confidence not in radical change, but in having an intentional direction.
I mean, you can feel it everywhere, can you? The second the calendar flips to January 1st, there's this invisible pressure to suddenly become a brand new person, like we're supposed to have it all figured out, overnight. That is a ton of pressure to put on ourselves, and honestly, it can be completely overwhelming. And this thought right here, this is the real heart of the problem. It's that voice in our head that says, who we are right now just isn't good enough, and that any change we make has to be instant and, dramatic. It's like setting an impossible finish line right at the start of the race. And that way of thinking, it's a trap.
Let's just call it what it is, the January pressure trap. It's this whole idea that our personal growth has to follow some very specific and often very public script. So, what does that script actually demand from us?
Well, it's what I like to call the dramatic transformation myth. It tells us that for change to count, it has to be fast. It has to be something other people can see. And of course, it has to be impressive. But come on, real, lasting growth almost never works that way. This all-or-nothing approach, it usually just leads straight to burnout, not some big breakthrough.
So, okay, if that's the trap, what's the alternative? How do we get out of it? Well, instead of trying to force some huge, dramatic change, we can actually focus on building a different kind of confidence. One that isn't based on a total reinvention, but on a really simple but powerful shift in how we see things.
In this right here, this is the whole shift. On the left, you've got that voice we all know so well, the one that's so demanding. But on the right, that's a calmer, way more powerful way to think. See, the goal isn't to be a different person overnight. The goal is to feel confident in the direction you're moving. It's subtle, but it's an absolute game changer.
Which brings us to this core idea, intentional direction. So what does that really mean? It means your confidence doesn't come from looking backward and measuring how far you've come. No, it's a forward-looking confidence. It's that quiet trust you build in yourself, a trust that you'll just keep taking the next step, no matter how small it is. It's all about the journey, not just the finish line.
So why is this approach so much more effective? Well, it's because it taps into something way more powerful than just a short burst of motivation that fizzles out by February. It taps into the power of quiet, consistent effort.
You can almost think of it like compound interest, but for your own personal growth. Making one small positive choice today might not feel like a big deal, but when you repeat that choice tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, those effects start to add up and they build into something really significant. This is where real sustainable change comes from, in those small, repeatable actions.
And let's be real, true growth doesn't need a big audience. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy for it to count. Most of the time, it's happening in the quiet moments, right? In those small shifts in how you think, or the little choices you make when nobody's even watching. That's the stuff that's slowly shaping the person you're becoming.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we put this into practice? Let's talk about taking your very first intentional step. This is where we make this whole idea real and something you can do, like right now.
Here's a super simple challenge for this week. First, just take a moment and picture a future version of yourself. What qualities do they have? Maybe more peace, stronger boundaries? Okay, now, step 2, and this is so important. I want you to acknowledge how you're already on that path. Find just 1 or 2 little pieces of evidence. And finally, step 3, just choose one single small step you can take this week that moves you in that direction.
And remember the mantra for this whole thing. The goal is not a dramatic performance, it's simply to be intentional with one small action. The pressure is completely off. This is all about direction, not speed.
So what could a small step like this actually look like in real life? Well, it could be choosing to rest when your body tells you to, instead of just pushing through. Or maybe it's using your voice for a moment in a meeting when you'd normally just stay quiet. Or, hey, it could be as simple as spending 10 minutes on something you love instead of scrolling on your phone. These are the small hinges that swing big doors. And when you take that small step, whatever it is, just pause for a second and see it for what it truly is. It's not just some tiny, insignificant action. It's tangible proof. It is real evidence that you are already in the process of becoming that future self you just imagined.
So I'll leave you with this one question to take with you. Forget about reinventing your entire self for the whole year. Just for today, what's one small, intentional decision that the person you're becoming would make? Because that's where the real growth begins.